Good morning, students of grade 7. Hello, how are you? Today, starting the blocks of closed-out book, we have a Unit 1 grammar, which deals with the present simple and the present continuous. Absolutely sure that you have been so many times trying to get the point between the two sentences and the differences between them. Today, we are a little bit focusing on that and the use of both tenses. So we are focusing today maybe not on the structure, not the form, but we're focusing on which tense to use when and why. So the first to start with is the present simple normal form with the I and you as subjects. We usually use the infinitive form of the verb, and the same happens with we, you, and they as plural subjects as we know. He, she, and it are singular ones, so that's why we have to add the s to the verb. Maybe es, maybe we have to transfer the y in some verbs into I, and then add the es. This is all what you have been through in the last few years. For the negative form, we've got doesn't plus the infinitive form of the verb, the yes and no question, or the question form, we've got does plus the infinitive form of the verb. These are the most common used time expressions for the tense. Every day, on Monday, always, often, usually, sometimes, never, seldom, rarely. These are all, as we know them, the adverbs of frequency. So all the adverbs of frequency are used with the present simple here. And then at the weekend, or maybe at weekends in general. Okay. Also, when we say on Mondays, that's a general idea about the activity that you do every Monday. So for the present continuous, we usually have the auxiliary verb am, is, or are, according to the subject that you're using in the sentence, plus the verb in the ing form. So whenever you want to form a question, a negative form, you only add not to that auxiliary verb, and you don't touch the main verb with the ing, leave it as it is. So the question form is based on moving the auxiliary verb that it begins the sentence or the question, saying, are you working? So here, if you are working, you're not working, are you working? So you're just replacing between the subject and the auxiliary verb. These are also of the most common used, but not all of them, the most common used time expressions now at the moment and today, at present time maybe. Now here comes the cases in which we use the present simple. For the present simple, we only know that we can, it's the only tense that we can use for facts, general truths and facts. The facts could be scientific, could be geographical, could be concerning any kind of fact around us. So the example is easy, and most of us remember it when you say water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. This is a very famous example of that. So any fact concerning any field, we express that using the present simple. To describe routines or repeated habits, so the things that you do regularly, like monthly or every month, weekly, like every week, daily, the same like every day. These are the actions that we call are regular actions, or they happen regularly in my life. So that is what routine means. So the routine is the repeated action that you do from now and then, and it's better to use the adverbs of frequency to express that. So if I want to ask about your routine, about a specific activity, we usually use how often. So it's like, how often do you go to the cinema? You tell me, I always go to the cinema, or I sometimes go to the cinema with my friends, I usually go to the cinema with my family, and stuff like that. So the routine is usually asked about using how often. For situations that are generally true at the present time, so this is what we call the permanent states. So if you want to tell me about the place where you live, you live already, for example, in Cairo. You don't say, I'm living in Cairo. but you tell me that this is what is happening at the time of speaking, but as it is a permanent state that is not going to change soon, we always use the present simple. So we say, I live in Cairo. I work as a teacher. So when you say, I work as a teacher, it's not expected that you're going to change that soon. It's your permanent state, it's not going to change. So all of the permanent states, for example, I speak 3 languages. Speaking 3 languages is not going to change soon. They are not going to be minimized into 2, for example. So it's logic to use the permanent state, things that are stable, that will not change soon. We use the present simple. This timetabled and scheduled events. Of course, not the timetabled and scheduled events. I don't say that this is something for the time of speaking, the time I'm talking now. So this is a use when we have the present simple, yes, as a tense in the structure, but the meaning is future. So if I tell you, for example, that the session starts at 5 o'clock, the session is not, it's not working now. I mean, it's not at the time of speaking. So the start of the session is not now, is not soon, but it's at 5 o'clock. So you tell me this is future. Why don't I say the session will start at 5 o'clock? Will cannot be used here because the session timing is not going to change. This goes according to a fixed timetable or a fixed schedule. That's why we never use will. So I also cannot say the train will leave at 10 p.m. in the morning. No. The train leaves at 10 o'clock p.m. or 10 p.m. a.m. in the morning. So these are scheduled, fixed, or action that goes according to a fixed timetable or schedule. Never use will with them. So this is the use of the present simple, but in future meaning. That's the only use of the present simple in the future meaning. The last one is the narrative. When you narrate something, something like what? Narrate means like tell or tell a story of something. For example, when you are telling me a summary of a story, a specific story, you don't use any tense but the present simple. So you say, for example, when you talk about Cinderella, we say Cinderella lives with her father for a long time. Her father gets married to a wicked woman who has 2 daughters. Cinderella starts to live a bad life with her stepmother and stepsisters, and so on. So here you don't use the past in order to narrate the events of a story. The same with jokes. When you tell someone a joke, if you can, plots, sports commentaries. So during the sport or the match, for example, everybody watches football matches in Egypt. So whenever you are watching a football match, the person who makes the comments is not using the present continuous, although the events of the match is happening at the time of speaking. Still, he can only use the present simple. So we usually say, or he usually says, Mo Salah passes the ball to Ahmed. Ahmed takes the ball, he runs, he continues running, or he scores a goal. So in this case, all the events are happening now at the time of speaking, and I'm watching them, but you can only use the present simple, nothing else. The time expressions, some of them, the adverbs of frequency, always, usually, often. Usually is mentioned twice. Sometimes never, every, whatever. And don't forget that we can say every day or daily, every week or weekly, every month or monthly, every year or yearly or annually, both can be correct. Here are some examples. Let me read them for you. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Fish live in the water. This is also a permanent state for the fish. That's not going to change. The lecture starts every day at 7. The lecture, this is a present simple with future meaning. Castle plays well, and here she scores a point. So this is a match commentary, maybe, I'm not sure what type of sport, it's not mentioned. The King of France declares his approval and announces his daughter's marriage. Here you are commenting a story or giving me a plot of a story. Now with the present continuous uses. Right here we've got something that is happening at the time of speaking or at this moment, like now. I am explaining you the difference between present simple and the present continuous. You are watching me, okay? Everybody is listening to you, and so on. So this is the action that is happening at the time of speaking or at the moment. Describing something that is temporary. We mentioned before that we use the present simple for permanent states. But what if this state is just temporary, something that is going to change soon? I said that the permanent, I can only use the present simple like I live in Cairo. But what if you are not originally from Cairo in the first place and you are moving soon? In this case, you can say, I'm living in Cairo, which means that you're living in Cairo for a short time or for a period of time, and this is going to change soon, so it's not permanent. Okay? I work as a teacher, but I'm working in an office in the afternoon so that I can get more money for my kids, for example. Or you can say, for example, I usually stay in a hotel, but I'm staying in an inn these days because I'm always on the road. So this is something that is temporary. Temporary means what? It means that it's going to change soon, not permanent. Now the next, events that are happening in the present but not necessarily at this very moment. So when you say, for example, and this, it's a little bit twisted, the meaning here. For example, and here we can use always, by the way. When you say that my mother is always helping me, your mother is always helping you. Why didn't you pick up the present simple and say my mother helps me? My mother helps me, that is a repeated habit for your mom. That's her routine. So she helps you maybe every day, maybe every week in your studies. But what if this happens all the time, but not at the time of speaking? I mean, she's always helpful. The sentence means that she's always helpful. Here we can use the present continuous, and we may use always with it. So when you say that my friend is always giving me whatever I want, my friend is always standing by me whenever I need him. This is something that is not happening at the time of speaking, but it's continuously happening. Now, arranging plans. Again, the present continuous is used for the future meaning. But when you use the present continuous for future meaning, it means that the action that you are about to do is fixed completely. So when you are telling me that I'm going to the cinema, it means that you have booked the ticket to the cinema. You know what time the film starts or the movie starts. You know maybe who's going with you, one of your friends, one of your classmates, one of your colleagues, maybe your brother, I'm not sure. And you know everything about the action, that it's completely fixed. Fixed means like arranged, not fixed in the other one. Anyway, if you are telling me that I'm traveling to Canada tomorrow or next week, which means that you have already booked the plan, you started preparing your bags or suitcases and such stuff. You know what time the plane takes off. You know everything about this action, which is traveling to Canada. But do we really have any chance to use will, for example? I can say, I will travel to Canada next week. No, because will has some other uses. So when you say well, it means that this is a quick decision that you've just made. But the fixed future plan, you use the present continuous. I'm traveling to Canada. I will travel means that maybe you took the decision, but you haven't prepared anything for that yet. You haven't started preparing for the travel to Canada. That's why when we arrange everything and fix everything about the action in the sentence, we use the present continuous and nothing else. Now, the annoying repeated action. If we took away the word annoying, we know we now have the word repeated action. So repeated actions, we usually use the present simple, and we have just said that. But when these actions are repeated and they are annoying to me or to anyone, it means that we can use only the present continuous. So if you have a boss, and that boss at work, that boss bothers you all the time, you'd better say, my boss is always bothering me. You can say bothers me, because it's not just a habit, it's a repeated and annoying at the same time. So if you say that my little brother takes my things without permission, no, this taking your things is annoying to you. So you'd better say, my little brother is always taking my things without permission. As long as the action is annoying and it bothers you, it causes you some, or it gives you a bad influence about the action, you only can use the present continuous and not the present simple. The changing situation, often with comparative. The changing situations and the most common used example to remind you of that is about the weather. For example, it has been cold for a few days, but now the weather is hot. So you say, it's getting hotter, maybe hotter and hotter, it's up to you. It's getting hotter every day, which means that the temperature is going up. So if you have been taking courses for a while and your accent in English improved or has improved lately, so in this case you say, my English accent is improving more and more every day. So that's why he said that the changing situation is better to be used with comparative, like it's getting hotter, it's getting colder, it's getting late, for example. You can definitely say later, it's getting only late. So this is the case in which we use the changing situation. For example, my little daughter is growing up more and more every day. It means like the process of her growing up is changing and developing at the time. Now moving to the time expressions mentioned before, but mentioned again. Now, right now, today, at this moment, all the future expressions concerning the fixed future plans, tonight, tomorrow, next week, soon, all this can work with the present continuous with future meaning. And now we've got some examples. I watch TV every day, but today I'm listening to music. So I watch TV every day. This is your permanent state. This is a habit for you, repeated habit. But today I'm listening to music. So this is the temporary action that I mentioned before. Never is always asking for money. This is the one that expresses a repeated annoying action. So asking for money. Buy Ali is something that annoys you, which annoys anyone anyway. I always cook dinner at home, but my wife is cooking today. So it looks like the man is the one who's responsible for cooking, but today, something temporary, something that is going to change soon, his wife is cooking that day. Now, we are moving to Dover next month. Fix it, future plans. He didn't say will, because will represents that you have maybe just taken the decision, but you didn't prepare anything, or you haven't prepared anything for that yet. It's getting more and more hotter every day. Now, my sister is studying math right now, but she never studies at night. She's studying math at now. This is the action that is happening at the time of speaking. Something that is very important now I want you to care about is after the linking verbs, the ing form, after some prepositions, when the verbs is used as a noun. These are the cases, I'm mentioning that quickly, in which you can use the gerund form of the verb. The gerund form of the verb can be used after verbs of liking, liking. It's when you say, for example, I like playing chess, or I adore watching Adele singing. For example, when you say, I love watching scary movies. So these are the preference verbs. That's it. I prefer eating sushi to eating kosher, for example. So the preference or the liking verbs, in this case you can use the gerund form of the verb. After some prepositions, like for example when you say that Ahmad is responsible for cleaning his room. My mother is very interested in cooking programs. So this is what it means by the gerund after a preposition. That's it for now. The examples are here. I like playing basketball. I'm talking about studying hard. Swimming, of course, here it was a noun. And swimming here in this sentence is not a verb. It became a noun because we started the sentence with it, so it's the subject of the sentence. Is very fun. In this case, I can say swim is very fun. No, it's a noun. You turn the verb swim into a noun in order to start a sentence with it as a subject. Concerning the types of verbs, I will have to go through that as fast as I can because I'm running out of time. But we have two types of verbs, and you have to pay attention to that because I'm moving to an exercise after that. We've got dynamic verbs, or which we call them action verbs, or activity and processes. And the other type is the state of verbs. The state of verbs are state or condition verbs, especially the verbs of emotion, feelings, and position. Some verbs, like, why are you telling us that we have two different types of verbs? Because the state of verbs, all the state of verbs, are normally used with the present simple.